The Democrat-controlled House of Representatives impeached President Trump for his dealings with Ukraine, ruling that he'd withheld aid to leverage information about his political opponent, Joe Biden. John Bolton refused an invitation to testify before the House, but now alleges that this action was typical of President Trump's dealing with a number of countries, and he criticizes the House for limiting its investigation to Ukraine. Had they taken the time to inquire more systematically about Trump's behavior across his entire foreign policy, John Bolton writes, the impeachment outcome would have been different. In published excerpts from his book, Bolton alleges that President Trump sought favors from foreign leaders like Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey, and in particular, President Xi of China. Bolton recounts President Trump's conversation when he met the Chinese president in Osaka on the 29th of June last year. Trump then stunningly turned the conversation to the coming U.S. presidential election, alluding to China's economic capability and pleading with Xi to ensure he'd win. He stressed the importance of farmers and increased Chinese purchases of soybeans and wheat in the electoral outcome. Bolton continues, I would print Trump's exact words, but the government's pre-publication review process has decided otherwise. Despite Bolton's confirmation that the manuscript has been vetted by the National Security Council, the Department of Justice has asked a federal court to block publication. 50 years ago, the Supreme Court held that a similar attempt by the Nixon administration to block publication of the Pentagon Papers amounted to censorship. The widespread publication of passages from the book is likely to reinforce the federal court in applying precedent and rejecting the Trump administration's case. Next week, it's likely the public will be able to read the full account of a White House which practices, in John Bolton's words, obstruction of justice as a way of life. Mike Hanna, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Well, Joel Rubin is a former United States Deputy Assistant Secretary of State and the president of the Washington Strategy Group. He says it's yet another example of the president using his office for personal gain.
Well, these revelations are damning, and it clearly shows that President Trump sold us out for his own personal political gain. He made requests of China, for example, about their requesting that they interfere in our democratic elections to help him win in order for him to essentially stay in the presidency. Asking for a foreign power to help one be the American president is deeply problematic, and it is why he got impeached. So these are damning revelations. They're not surprising for those of us who have been arguing for years that Donald Trump is corrupting the presidency. And it is disappointing that John Bolton is only putting these out in the book now rather than having taken a principled stand when he could have done something about it. And that's what the president's men do, and that's what we've seen them do throughout his presidency. When they leave, suddenly they find courage, like General Mattis finding courage to speak out about Donald Trump's failure to address racism in this country and worse. So it's a real problem to see this administration continually deny that the president is engaged in illegal behavior with foreign governments to help him win politically. And where there's smoke, there's fire. So Lighthouse's argument, it really doesn't stand much chance. And John Bolton's got the records, I think, to prove it.